Welcome to the Realtors Podcast, your go-to resource for everything real estate. Whether you're a seasoned agent or just starting out, we provide actionable tips, market insights, and success stories to help you grow your business. Tune in for expert advice, industry trends, and the inspiration you need to thrive in the competitive world of real estate. Stay ahead of the game with the Realtors Podcast.
You know, when I saw this headline about Toronto condo prices just plummeting, I kind of had to do a double take.
Yeah.
I thought, didn't interest rates just go down? Shouldn't
Yeah.
that be good news for the housing market?
Yeah, you'd think so.
But we'll get this according to this Better Dwelling article. It's called Toronto Condo Prices Just Had One of the Worst Months on Record.
Oh.
Things aren't quite so simple.
Okay.
We're talking about a potential double dip correction, folks. And that's not something you see every day.
No, it's not.
So today we're going to unpack what's really going on in the Toronto condo market
Yes, we are.
and what it means for you, whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting to think about buying your first place.
That's right. We're going to dive deep into this article and see if we can solve this real estate mystery together.
Okay.
We'll break down some key terms you need to know, like, benchmark price and double dip correction.
Okay.
And then explore why those interest rate drops haven't had the impact everyone expected. Plus, we'll take a look at who's winning, who's losing, and what you need to consider if you're thinking about jumping into this market.
Okay, so let's start with this benchmark price plunge the article keeps mentioning.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean and why should we care?
Well, think of a benchmark price as a sort of typical condo price in a specific area.
Okay.
It's a bit more sophisticated than just taking a simple average because it factors in things like the size and type of condo in the neighborhood and recent sales data.
Gotcha.
So when this benchmark price takes a nosedive, it's a pretty clear sign that the overall market is heading south.
Okay, so it's not just a few outliers dragging the average down.
Right.
It's a broader trend.
Exactly.
But just how bad is this downturn?
Yeah.
Give us some context here.
So the article says the benchmark condo price dropped a whopping 2% in September alone.
Okay.
Now, that might not sound like much, but
2% doesn't sound so bad.
it translates to roughly $13,400.
Whoa.
That's a significant chunk of change to lose in just 1 month. What's even more alarming is that September's drop was the 5th largest monthly decrease on record.
Whoa. 5th largest.
Yeah,
That definitely sounds like we're in some uncharted territory.
it is.
When were the other times we saw drops that big?
We saw 3 of them relatively recently, June, July, and August of 2022.
Okay.
And the other one takes us all the way back to January 2009 during the peak of the financial crisis.
So we're seeing drops comparable to some pretty major economic downturns.
Yes.
And remember, all this is happening while interest rates are supposedly going down.
Right.
What?
You'd think lower interest rates would make mortgages more appealing and draw more buyers into the market, pushing prices up.
Right.
But as we're seeing, it's not that straightforward.
Okay.
There's a whole web of factors influencing condo prices, and interest rates are just one piece of the puzzle.
Okay, so low interest rates don't automatically equal high condo prices.
Exactly.
Got it. The article also mentions this double dip correction. Can you explain what that is?
Sure, imagine you're on a roller coaster. You climb to the top, then plunge down. But just when you think the ride is over
Right.
and you're about to level out,
Okay.
you plummet again, even lower than the first dip.
Oof.
That's a double dip correction in a nutshell.
Okay.
After a period of decline, there's a brief recovery that gives people false hope.
Right.
But then prices drop again, sometimes even more dramatically than before.
Wow, that sounds brutal.
Yeah,
It's like getting tricked by the market.
it can feel that way.
Do you think a lot of people saw this second dip coming?
It's hard to say for sure, but it definitely caught some folks off guard.
Yeah.
The data shows condo prices are down 7.2% year over year,
Okay.
which is a drop of about $50,400.
Wow.
And historically speaking, we've only seen worse year-over-year drops in 4 other months, all in 2023.
So yeah, things are moving downhill pretty fast.
Yeah, they are.
And how does the speed of this downturn compare to previous market corrections?
Well, what's concerning is that this correction is happening at a much faster pace than what we witnessed in the early 90s, which was the last time Toronto experienced such a significant market downturn.
Okay.
So it's definitely a situation that requires close attention.
So we've got these plummeting benchmark prices and a double dip correction that seems to be accelerating.
Yeah.
What does this all mean for people who bought at the peak, say, back in early 2022?
Right.
The article mentions something about 3 years of stagnation.
Yes, since the peak back in April 2022, the benchmark condo price has taken a nosedive.
Okay.
A 16.6% drop, to be precise.
Okay.
It's a decrease of almost $130,000.
Whoa.
And to put it into perspective, current prices are back to what we saw in October 2021.
Oh, wow.
So essentially, if you bought a condo in April 2022, you've seen 3 years of potential gains just evaporate.
Well, 3 years of basically going nowhere.
Yeah,
That's got to be a tough pill to swallow.
it is.
So what does this mean for someone who's thinking about buying a condo right now?
Right.
Is this a golden opportunity, or are we still in risky territory?
That's where things get interesting. On the surface, lower prices might seem like a great deal.
Sure.
But remember, the market is still volatile, and we're in the midst of this double-dip correction.
Right.
So while there might be some bargains out there, it's crucial to understand the risks involved and make sure you're not just chasing a fallen knife.
So it's not as simple as prices are down, let's go shopping.
Exactly. You need to carefully consider your financial goals,
Yeah.
your risk tolerance, and whether you're truly prepared for the possibility of further price drops.
Okay.
Remember, a condo is a significant investment, and it's crucial to make informed decisions.
Solid advice. Now, every market shift creates winners and losers.
It does.
So in this current downturn, who's coming out on top and who's taking the biggest hit?
Well, one group that might be feeling the pinch right now is condo speculators.
Okay.
These are people who buy properties hoping to flip them for a quick profit, banking on the idea that Toronto condo prices always go up.
Right.
But with this recent downturn, their strategy might not be working out as planned.
Yeah, it's like that old saying, what goes up must come down.
Exactly.
But just how much have condo prices actually increased over the past few years?
Right.
I mean, even with this recent dip, surely there's been some decent growth overall, right?
You're right. Even with this downturn, condo prices are still up 22.8% since January 2020,
Okay.
which comes out to a gain of about $121,300.
Okay, so there have been substantial gains, but I guess it depends on when you bought and what your investment strategy was.
Exactly. And it's also crucial to compare those gains to other investment options.
Okay.
The article mentions that condo investments haven't quite kept pace with major U.S. investment indexes.
Interesting.
So some of those speculators might have seen better returns elsewhere.
Interesting point. So maybe condos aren't always the surefire investment they're sometimes made out to be.
Right.
But getting back to who's feeling the pain in this market, the article mentions negative cash flow speculators.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean, and why are they in a particularly tough spot right now?
Well, imagine someone who buys a condo with the intention of renting it out. But the rental income isn't enough to cover their mortgage payments and other expenses.
Okay.
They're essentially operating at a loss, hoping that the rise in value of the property will eventually make up for it.
Right.
That's what we call a negative cash flow situation.
Okay.
And when you add in the speculator element, it suggests someone who's heavily leveraged, perhaps owning multiple properties, and relying on that continuous price appreciation to stay afloat.
Yeah.
But with prices now fallen, their whole strategy is in jeopardy.
So they're like walking a tightrope, and this downturn just made the rope a lot more wobbly?
Exactly. It's a risky game.
But what about someone who bought their condo years ago as their primary residence?
Right.
And isn't planning on selling anytime soon?
Yeah.
How does this downturn affect them?
Long-term homeowners are generally in a much better position to weather these market storms.
Okay.
If they bought their condo years ago, their mortgage is probably much lower than what someone would be paying today.
Right.
Plus, they've likely built up a decent amount of equity over time.
Yeah.
So even if prices dip further, they're not as vulnerable to having to sell at a loss.
So it really is all about perspective.
Yeah.
A market downturn can be a scary thing, but its impact varies depending on your individual circumstances and investment strategy.
Absolutely. Understanding your personal financial goals and risk tolerance is crucial, especially in a volatile market like this.
Okay, so we've got a better sense of who might be winning and losing in this market, but let's dig a little deeper into the why behind all of this.
Okay.
What are the main factors driving this condo price plunge?
Yeah.
Is it just about interest rates, or is there more to the story?
It's definitely not just about interest rates.
Okay.
As we've discussed, the recent monetary easing cycle, with its lower rates, hasn't had the impact everyone anticipated.
Right.
There are several other factors at play here,
Okay.
and they all interact in complex ways.
Okay, let's unpack those factors.
Yeah.
What else has contributed to this downturn?
One significant factor is the increasing number of sellers entering the market. This could be due to people who bought at the peak and now realize they may have overpaid,
Right.
or investors who are trying to cut their losses before prices drop even further.
So it's like a chain reaction.
Yeah.
As more people try to sell it, creates more competition and puts further downward pressure on prices.
Exactly. And on top of that, we're seeing a rise in rental vacancies.
Okay.
This suggests fewer people are interested in renting condos,
Okay.
which could be due to factors like affordability issues,
Yeah.
people moving out of the city,
Right.
or maybe even a shift in lifestyle preferences.
Right. So there's a whole bunch of potential explanations there.
Yeah,
It seems like we're seeing a convergence of different trends that are all putting the squeeze on the condo market.
exactly. It's a confluence of factors.
And to make matters even more complex, the article mentions climbing mortgage delinquencies.
Oh, right.
This means more and more people are struggling to keep up with their mortgage payments, which could be a sign of broader economic strain or, again, people who bought at the peak now finding it difficult to manage their debt.
It's a tough situation for sure.
So it's not just about interest rates and housing supply.
Right.
There are some deeper economic undercurrents at play here.
Africa.
This is definitely a lot for anyone considering buying or selling in this market to digest.
It is a lot to take in.
We've covered a lot of ground already, from benchmark price plunges and double-dip corrections to the impact of monetary easing and some of the forces shaping this downturn.
We have.
We'll be back in just a moment to continue our deep dive into this fascinating and, frankly, a bit bewildering topic.
It is a bit of a head-scratcher.
Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. Before the break, we were talking about all the different factors that are contributing to this condo price plunge in Toronto.
Right.
And it's pretty clear that this isn't just a simple case of interest rates going up or down.
Yeah, it's much more than that.
It's a whole web of interconnected forces at play. But what I'm really curious about is, what does all this mean for the future of the Toronto condo market?
Right.
Is this a temporary blip, or are we witnessing a more fundamental shift?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I don't have a crystal ball.
Of course not.
But based on the data and the trends we're seeing, I think it's safe to say we're in a period of transition.
Okay.
You know, those old assumptions about Toronto condo prices always going up well?
Right.
Those might need a serious reality check.
So those guaranteed returns in the Toronto condo market might be a thing of the past.
It's certainly possible, but that doesn't mean the market is doomed.
Okay.
It just means we need to adjust our expectations and approach real estate with a more nuanced understanding of the risks and rewards.
Okay, so what does this mean for people who are currently in the market?
Right.
Or thinking about jumping in?
Yeah.
Is this a buyer's market, a seller's market, or something in between?
Well, for buyers, it's a time to be both cautious and opportunistic.
Okay.
Prices are down,
Mhm.
which means there might be some good deals out there. But remember, we're still in the midst of this double dip correction.
Right.
So do your homework.
Yeah.
Make sure you're not overpaying. And don't fall into the trap of trying to time the market perfectly.
So don't just jump in because you think prices are going to skyrocket again next month.
Exactly. Focus on finding a property that meets your needs, fits your budget, and makes sense for your long-term goals.
Okay.
Don't get caught up in the short-term fluctuations.
And what about sellers?
Yeah.
What advice do you have for them in this market?
For sellers, it's essential to be realistic about pricing.
Okay.
The market has shifted, and those inflated prices from a year or two ago might not be achievable anymore.
Right.
Be prepared to negotiate
Yeah.
and be patient. It might take a little longer to find the right buyer.
So patience is key, whether you're buying or selling.
Absolutely. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of staying informed.
Okay.
Keep up with market trends, read articles like the one we're discussing today, and consider talking to a financial advisor or a real estate agent who really knows the Toronto market.
Okay.
They can help you navigate the complexities and make informed decisions based on your individual circumstances.
Right. It's always a good idea to tap into the expertise of those who are immersed in the market day in and day out.
Exactly.
Now, one thing that really stood out to me in this Better Dwelling article was the comments section.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like readers have some strong opinions about what's happening in the Toronto condo market.
Yeah, they definitely do.
What were some of the comments that caught your eye?
Well, you're right. The comments section is a goldmine of on-the-ground perspectives.
Yeah.
One commenter, Raj, brought up the issue of affordability,
Okay.
especially for newcomers to Canada.
Right.
He wondered how the current prices can be sustainable when even renting is a struggle for many.
Yeah, and Ernest Lai echoed that sentiment.
Yeah.
He mentioned that even dual-income professional households are being priced out of neighborhoods they could once afford.
Right.
He observed how foreign buyers are transforming some areas, creating enclaves that aren't as integrated with the broader community. That raises an interesting question about the role of global capital in the Toronto condo market, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Foreign investment has undoubtedly played a role in driving up prices in recent years.
Right.
But the question is, how does this impact affordability and neighborhood dynamics in the long run?
Right.
Is it creating a more diverse and vibrant city? Or is it leading to increased inequality and social stratification?
Interesting.
Those are complex questions that deserve further exploration.
It's like we need to find a balance between attracting foreign investment
Yeah,
and ensuring that it benefits the city as a whole, not just a select few.
exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot.
And speaking of diverse perspectives, another commenter, GTA landlord, brought up the challenges of renting condos without parking
Right.
and how transportation policy might be playing a role in vacancy rates.
Yeah, that's an important point.
I hadn't really thought about that before, but it makes sense. If people are relying on public transit, they might be less inclined to rent a condo that doesn't come with a parking spot.
That's a great point, and it highlights the interconnectedness of housing transportation and urban planning.
Yeah.
If we want to create a truly sustainable and livable city, we need to think about these issues holistically, not in isolation.
Right. It's not just about building more condos. It's about creating communities that people want to live in
Exactly.
with access to amenities, transportation, and affordable housing options.
Yeah, all those things are essential.
And speaking of affordability, one commenter, RW, pointed out that condo sizes are shrinking while prices are climbing.
Interesting.
He suggested that the market is catering more towards investors and short-term rentals like Airbnb
Yeah,
rather than families or long-term residents.
that's a concern that's been raised by many, and it speaks to a larger question.
Yeah.
Who are we building for? Are we prioritizing the needs of residents, or are we creating a market that's increasingly driven by speculation and profit-seeking? This is a debate that's not going away anytime soon.
These comments really highlight the human dimension of this whole situation.
Yeah, I do.
We're not just talking about numbers on a spreadsheet.
Right.
We're talking about people's homes, their investments, their dreams.
Exactly.
And these market shifts have a ripple effect that extends far beyond the real estate industry.
You're absolutely right. The affordability challenges, the change in demographics,
Yeah.
the role of investors, these are all issues that have profound implications for the social fabric of our city.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm left wondering, what does the future hold for the Toronto condo market?
Right.
Is this downturn just a temporary blip, or are we witnessing a more fundamental shift?
It's tough to say for certain, but one thing is clear.
What's that?
The market is in a state of flux, and the old assumptions may no longer apply.
Okay.
We need to approach real estate with a new level of understanding and awareness, recognizing that the forces at play are more complex and interconnected than ever before.
Okay, so we've got a lot to unpack here.
We do.
We've explored the impact of this downturn on buyers and sellers. We've dug into the factors driving this plunge,
Yeah.
and we've considered the perspectives of those on the ground.
Right. A lot of different angles to consider.
And what I'm really curious about is, what can we learn from all of this?
Yeah, that's the key question.
And what does it all mean for you, the listener, who's trying to make sense of this ever-changing market?
Exactly. How do we make sense of all this?
We'll be back in just a moment to tackle those questions and explore some potential scenarios for the future. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You know, before the break, we were talking about how this condo market downturn is affecting real people.
Yeah.
And that got me thinking about some of those reader comments we discussed earlier.
Right.
They really painted a vivid picture of the human impact of all these market shifts.
They did.
It's easy to get caught up in the numbers and the financial analysis, but at the end of the day, this is about people's lives. It is.
Their hopes and dreams and their ability to afford a place to call home.
Absolutely. It's about real people's lives.
Exactly. And it makes me wonder, given everything we've discussed,
Yeah.
what do you think the future holds for the Toronto condo market?
Right.
What are some of the key factors that will shape its trajectory in the coming years?
Well, predicting the future is always a tricky business.
Right.
But based on the trends we've analyzed and the diverse perspectives we've considered,
Yeah.
I think there are a few key themes that will likely emerge in the coming years.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's on your radar?
First and foremost, I think the issue of affordability will continue to be front and center.
Okay.
As interest rates remain elevated and the cost of living keeps rising,
Yeah.
the dream of homeownership may become even more elusive for many,
Right.
especially young people and newcomers trying to gain a foothold in the market.
Okay.
And that's particularly true in the condo market, which has traditionally been seen as a more accessible entry point for first-time buyers.
That's a sobering thought. So what can be done to address this affordability challenge?
Right.
Is it just a matter of waiting for prices to drop even further?
Well, would that actually help?
While lower prices might seem like the obvious solution, it's
Sure.
not quite that simple.
Okay.
Remember, a sustained and significant price drop could have unintended consequences,
Okay.
potentially destabilizing the market and negatively impacting those who already own condos.
Right. It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
You don't want prices to be so high that they're out of reach,
Right.
but you also don't want a crash that hurts everyone.
Exactly.
So what's the answer? Where do we go from here?
I think the focus needs to shift towards exploring more creative solutions
Okay.
that increase housing supply, promote affordability, and support those who are struggling to enter the market.
Okay. What kind of solutions are we talking about here?
This could involve things like incentivizing the development of purpose-built rentals,
Okay.
exploring innovative housing models like co-ownership.
Or providing targeted financial assistance to first-time buyers.
So it's not just about relying on market forces to fix things.
Right.
It's about proactive policies and initiatives that treat housing as a fundamental need,
Yes.
not just a commodity.
Exactly. We need a multifaceted approach that addresses both the supply and demand sides of the equation.
Okay.
And that requires collaboration between governments, developers, community organizations, and individuals.
It sounds like a tall order, but it's certainly a challenge worth tackling.
It is.
Another theme that came up in our discussion was the evolving role of investors in the condo market.
Right.
There seems to be a growing concern about the impact of investors,
Yeah.
particularly those focused on short-term rentals,
Mhm.
on affordability, neighborhood stability, and the long-term health of the market.
That's right. The influx of investors, particularly those seeking quick profit through short-term rentals,
Yeah.
has raised questions about who benefits from these investments.
Right.
And whether they're contributing to the affordability challenges faced by ordinary residents. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It's like we need to figure out whether condos are primarily homes for people
Right.
or investment vehicles for profit.
Yeah. Are we building communities or are we just building investment portfolios?
Exactly. Where do you see that debate heading in the coming years?
I think we might see a shift towards policies that regulate short-term rentals more effectively,
Okay.
encourage long-term investment that benefits communities,
Yeah.
and prioritize the needs of residents over those seeking quick profits.
So finding a way to balance attracting investment with ensuring that it serves the greater good rather than just fueling speculation and displacement.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And finally, I think the issue of urban planning and design will become increasingly important in shaping the future of the condo market.
Okay.
As Toronto continues to grow and evolve, we need to be more thoughtful about how we design our neighborhoods
Yeah.
to ensure they are livable, sustainable, and inclusive.
Right. It's not just about building more condos. It's about creating communities that people want to live in
Exactly.
with access to green spaces, transportation options, community amenities, and a mix of housing types to cater to diverse needs and demographics.
Absolutely. We need to move beyond the purely financial aspects of real estate
Okay.
and consider the social and environmental implications of development.
So taking a more holistic view that recognizes the interconnectedness of housing, transportation, community well-being, and environmental sustainability.
Exactly. The future of the Toronto condo market will be shaped by a complex interplay of economic forces, policy decisions, and community priorities.
Right.
And while there are undoubtedly challenges ahead, I think there's also a tremendous opportunity to create a more vibrant, equitable, and sustainable housing landscape for all.
This deep dive has definitely been an eye-opener for me.
Yeah, me too.
We've uncovered some concerning trends, but we've also explored some potential paths forward.
Right. It's not all doom and gloom.
I'm feeling a mix of cautious optimism and a healthy dose of curiosity about what the future holds. What about you?
I share your sense of cautious optimism. The Toronto condo market is at a crossroads,
It is.
but I believe that by staying informed, engaging in thoughtful discussions, and working together,
Yeah.
we can help shape a future where housing is accessible, equitable, and contributes to the vibrancy of our city.
Well said. So to everyone listening, we encourage you to stay curious, stay engaged, and join the conversation about the future of housing in Toronto.
It's an important conversation to have.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from benchmark prices and double-dip corrections to the impact of investors and the role of urban planning.
A lot to think about.
But as we wrap up this deep dive, the big question that's swirling in my mind is this.
Okay.
Is the Toronto condo market becoming a place where only the wealthy can play? What does that mean for the future of the city? I don't have the answers.
That's a big question.
But it's something I'm going to be watching closely. What are your thoughts? We'd love to hear from you. And that's it for today's deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.